You want to know the cruelest joke the market ever played on me? It wasn't the crashes. It wasn't the margin calls. It wasn't even going broke multiple times. No, the cruelest joke was this. Every single time I lost everything, I knew exactly what I was doing wrong. I could see it happening. I understood the principles. I had the intelligence. And I did it anyway. That's what I need you to understand right now, before you make the same mistakes I did. Intelligence in this game, real, raw intelligence, can be your greatest enemy. I know that sounds backwards. Your teachers told you to study hard. Your parents told you smart people get ahead. Society worships intelligence like it's some kind of golden ticket. But in trading, in speculation, being smart without the right framework is like giving a loaded gun to a child. You've got power, but no wisdom to wield it. Let me tell you about the moment I should have learned everything. I was still young, barely past my teenage years, and I'd just made what seemed like an impossible prediction. A railroad stock I'd called its move to the exact point, watched it unfold exactly as I'd foreseen. The older men in the office, traders who'd survived panics and crashes I'd only read about, looked at me differently after that. Not with respect, with something closer to fear. And that's when the poison entered my bloodstream. Because I didn't just feel proud, I felt inevitable. Like the market had revealed its secrets to me personally, like I'd been chosen to understand what others couldn't grasp. When you're young and you predict something impossible and you're proven right in front of everyone, something dangerous happens in your mind. You stop seeing the market as a force to respect. You start seeing it as a puzzle you've solved. That feeling, that absolute conviction that you've figured out something fundamental, that's the beginning of every fortune I lost. Not the crashes, not bad luck. That moment when intelligence whispers, you see what they can't see. You understand what they don't understand. The normal rules don't apply to you. By the time I was in my 20s, I'd made my first fortune. A real fortune. The kind of money that changes everything. And you know what intelligence told me? It told me I deserved it. It told me I'd figured out something permanent about how markets work. It whispered that I was special, that the rules that broke other men didn't apply to Jesse Livermore. So I stopped following my own system. That's the thing about intelligence without discipline. It gives you permission to break your rules because you're smart enough to know when exceptions apply. I'd see a stock making a move, and instead of waiting for my signals, I'd think, I understand what's happening here. I can see where this is going. Why wait? Intelligence became my excuse for impatience. And impatience in the market is a death sentence paid in installments. I want you to pause right now and think about your own trading. How many times have you broken your rules because you were pretty sure about something? How many times has your intelligence convinced you that this time was different, that you saw an angle others missed, that your analysis was so thorough you didn't need to wait for confirmation? If you're honest, you'll recognize yourself in what I'm telling you. And if you want to dive deeper into how I eventually learned to channel intelligence properly, check out our new ebook, Thinking Like Jesse Livermore, Mastering the Market with Discipline, Patience, and Risk. You'll find the link in the description below. The market doesn't care about your IQ. It doesn't care that you've read every book. It doesn't care that you can calculate probabilities in your head or that you understand fundamental analysis better than most professionals. The market is not an intellectual exercise. It's a psychological war, and intelligence without emotional control is like showing up to a gunfight with a calculator. I learned this the hard way over and over again. After that first fortune, I lost everything, every single dollar. And the worst part? I knew the principles that could have saved me. I'd proven I understood market mechanics, but understanding and executing are separated by a canyon most intelligent people never cross. They stand on one side, knowing exactly what they should do, and then they watch themselves do the opposite. Why? Because intelligence creates narratives. Smart people are storytellers. We take data and weave it into compelling explanations that make sense of chaos. And those stories feel so logical, so well-reasoned, that we trust them more than we trust the market itself. I'd be sitting there, watching a position move against me, and my intelligent mind would construct a beautiful story about why I should hold on. The fundamentals haven't changed. This is just temporary volatility. The crowd is wrong, and they'll realize it soon. Smart money knows to stay in. Every word of that narrative might be true. The fundamentals might be solid. The crowd might be wrong. But none of that matters if the market is going down and taking your capital with it. The market can stay irrational longer than you can stay solvent. I said that, and I learned it by bleeding fortunes I'd worked years to build. Intelligence makes you think you can predict. But trading isn't about prediction. It's about reaction. It's about following what is, not what should be. The smartest analysis in the world can't change the fact that if a stock is falling, you need to get out. Your brilliant thesis about why it should go up is worthless in the face of actual price action. I made and lost 4 fortunes in my lifetime. 4. Each time I thought I'd learned the lesson. Each time intelligence told me, this time you've really figured it out. This time you've evolved past your previous mistakes. And each time, intelligence was lying to me. The second fortune I made, I swore I'd learned from losing the first. I'd been studying, thinking, analyzing what went wrong. And you know what my intelligent mind concluded? That I hadn't been smart enough the first time. That I needed better analysis, more sophisticated strategies, deeper understanding of market mechanics. So I doubled down on intelligence. I read more. I analyzed harder. I built more complex systems. And I was absolutely wrong about what I needed. What I needed wasn't more intelligence. What I needed was something much harder to acquire: emotional discipline. The ability to feel fear and greed and hope and certainty, and then act in complete opposition to those feelings when they contradicted my rules. But intelligent people struggle with this more than average traders because we trust our thoughts. We've been rewarded our entire lives for thinking our way through problems. In school, the smart kid gets the A. In business, the clever mind finds the advantage. But in trading, your thoughts are often your worst enemy. They rationalize, they justify, they create exceptions, and they do it all with such logical precision that you believe them completely. I remember a trade in Union Pacific. This was after my second fortune, when I should have known better. I had a system, a clear, proven system that told me when to buy and when to sell. Union Pacific triggered my sell signal, crystal clear, no ambiguity. But I was intelligent, you see. I'd done deep research on Union Pacific. I understood their business model, their expansion plans, their competitive position. My analysis told me they were undervalued, that the market hadn't recognized their true potential yet. So I held. My intelligence overruled my system. And you know what happened? The stock fell another 30% before I finally accepted reality and took the loss. A loss that should have been 5% turned into 30 because I was too smart to follow simple rules. This is what I need you to understand, and why I'm asking you to really listen right now. Maybe drop a comment below if this is hitting home for you, because I see so many of you making this exact mistake. Intelligence gives you the ability to rationalize any decision, and that ability is a curse in trading. The mediocre trader who follows a simple system religiously will outperform the genius who keeps finding logical reasons to break the rules every single time. I've seen it. I've lived it. I've been on both sides of that equation. After I lost that second fortune, I spent years in the wilderness. Not literally, I was still trading, still operating, but mentally, I was lost. I'd start to follow my system, then my intelligence would kick in with some observation, some insight, some nuanced understanding that justified a deviation. And every deviation cost me. The breakthrough came when I finally accepted something that went against every fiber of my intelligent being. I needed to trade like a machine. Not think like a machine, think like myself, but execute like a machine. Feel everything, think everything, analyze everything, and then do exactly what the system says regardless of what my brilliant mind concluded. This is the paradox smart traders must master. Use your intelligence to build the system, then shut your intelligence off when it's time to execute. Your creative, analytical mind is perfect for research, for developing strategies, for understanding market structure. But when you're in a position, when money is on the line, When your heart is pounding and your mind is racing with possibilities, that's when you become the machine. I developed rules, simple rules, rules that a child could follow. If this, then that. No exceptions, no special circumstances. No, but this time is different. And the hardest thing I ever did was follow those rules when my intelligence screamed that I was missing an opportunity or exiting too early or being too cautious. There's a reason I wrote in my notes that it's not the thinking that makes money, it's the sitting. Any fool can have an opinion about where the market's going. Intelligent people have very confident opinions, but making money requires something completely different. The discipline to wait for the right setup, enter at the right time, and then sit through the discomfort of uncertainty until the target is hit or the stop is triggered. Your intelligence wants to tinker. It wants to optimize in real time. It sees new information and wants to adjust. But every adjustment is another opportunity for emotion to corrupt your execution. The trader who makes 20 intelligent adjustments to a position will usually underperform the trader who sets it and forgets it according to a predetermined plan. I learned to measure my success not by how smart my analysis was, but by how faithfully I executed my system. Some of my most profitable periods came from trades where my intelligence was screaming that I was wrong. I'd be short a stock that I knew was overvalued, watching it climb, and everything in me wanted to add to the position because I was so obviously right. But my system said, wait for this signal, or take the loss at this level. And when I followed the system against my intelligence, I survived. When I followed my intelligence against the system, I bled. Let me give you another example, and I want you to really sit with this because I guarantee some of you are in this exact situation right now. I once held a position in steel stocks that my analysis said would be hugely profitable. Everything pointed to a major move. My intelligence had constructed an airtight case. But the price action wasn't confirming my thesis. The stocks were drifting, consolidating, not showing the strength I expected. My system said, no confirmation, no position, cut it, and wait for a clearer signal. My intelligence said, you've done the work, you know you're right, the confirmation will come. Stay in. I stayed in. For 3 months I stayed in, watching my capital do nothing, missing other opportunities, all because my intelligent analysis was too good to abandon. You know what finally happened? I was right, eventually. The steel stocks did move 6 months after I finally gave up and exited. And by the time they moved, I'd missed the setup because I was licking my wounds from the opportunity cost of being intelligently wrong for 6 months. I would have made far more money by following the system, taking the small loss, and catching the move when it actually showed up with proper confirmation. Here's what I finally understood after 4 fortunes made and lost. The market rewards discipline, not intelligence. It rewards patience, not insight. It rewards emotional control, not analytical brilliance. And the crueler truth is that intelligence often undermines all 3 of those qualities. When I made my 4th fortune, the one I held on to longer than any of the others, I wasn't smarter than I'd been before. If anything, I was thinking less and executing more. I'd built a system based on decades of observation, simple rules, clear signals, and I followed them with religious devotion. I stopped trying to outthink the market. I stopped believing I could predict the next move better than the price action itself. I stopped trusting my intelligence more than I trusted my system. And almost immediately, my results transformed. The positions I took weren't the most clever. They weren't based on some deep insight nobody else had. They were based on what the market was actually doing, confirmed by my signals, executed according to my rules, and they worked. Not because I was smart, but because I was disciplined. But here's what I want you to understand, and this is crucial. I'm not telling you to become stupid. I'm not saying intelligence is worthless. What I'm saying is that intelligence needs to know its place in the trading process. Intelligence builds the framework. Discipline executes within it. Intelligence is the architect. Discipline is the builder. And in trading, the builder makes the money. Your intelligence should be working before you enter a trade. Research the market, understand the conditions, develop your strategy, build your rules, test your approach. This is where intelligence shines. Use every bit of your analytical power here. But once you enter that trade, intelligence needs to step back and let discipline take over. I've watched brilliant people destroy themselves in this market. Economists who understand market theory better than I ever could. Mathematicians who can model probabilities I can barely comprehend. Analysts who've forgotten more about fundamentals than most traders ever learn. And I've watched them lose consistently because they couldn't shut off their intelligence when it mattered most. They'd have a stop loss at a certain level, and as it approached, their intelligence would activate. But this is just temporary volatility. The thesis hasn't changed. Taking the loss now would be selling at the worst possible moment. The smart move is to give it room. And they'd move the stop. And the stock would keep falling. And their intelligence would keep generating reasons to hold until the small loss became devastating. Meanwhile, the trader with average intelligence who set a stop and honored it is still in the game, still has capital, still can take the next opportunity. Who made the smart decision? This is why I'm so passionate about the principles in our ebook, Thinking Like Jesse Livermore, mastering the market with discipline, patience, and risk. It's not just my story, it's a framework for using intelligence properly in trading, for building the right habits, for knowing when to think and when to execute. You can find the link in the description, and I genuinely believe it could save you from the years of expensive mistakes I had to make to learn these lessons. Now, I need to address something uncomfortable, something most trading educators won't tell you. There's a very real possibility that your intelligence is the main thing holding you back right now. If you're smart, you've been conditioned your entire life to trust your thoughts. Your thoughts have served you well. They've helped you succeed in school, in your career, in problem solving. But the market isn't school. The market doesn't grade on understanding. It grades on results. And results come from execution, not comprehension. The hardest thing I ever had to accept was that I could be completely right in my analysis and still lose money. I could understand exactly what was going to happen and still fail to profit from it. Because understanding and executing are different skills, and in trading, execution is everything. I want you to think about the last 3 losses you took, not the wins. Anyone can rationalize their wins. Think about the losses. Now be brutally honest. How many of those losses came from breaking your own rules because you thought you knew better in that moment? How many came from your intelligence convincing you that this situation was different, special, an exception to your normal approach? If you're like most intelligent traders, the answer is most of them, maybe all of them. Your technical losses, the ones where you followed your system perfectly and still lost, those are rare. Those are just the cost of doing business. But your intelligence-driven losses, the ones where you outsmarted yourself, those are the ones bleeding you dry. So what's the solution? How do you trade when you're cursed with intelligence? First, use your intelligence to build an unbreakable system, not a complex system. Complexity is intelligence showing off. Build a simple system with clear rules that account for your psychological weaknesses. If you know you tend to hold losers too long, build in automatic stops you can't adjust. If you know you exit winners too early, build in a trailing stop system that removes the decision from your hands. Second, write down your rules. Physically write them, every single one, and before every trade, read them. This sounds stupid. Your intelligence will resist it. I know my rules. I don't need to read them every time. Wrong. Reading them creates a ritual that separates thinking time from executing time. It's a circuit breaker for your intelligence. Third, keep a journal of every time you break your rules. Not a trading journal, a rule-breaking journal. Write down what you did, why your intelligence justified it, and what the result was. Review it weekly. You'll start to see patterns in how your intelligence sabotages you. Those patterns are your enemy, and you need to recognize them in real time. Fourth, and this is critical, develop the ability to feel certainty and act anyway. Intelligence loves certainty. It seeks it, manufactures it, clings to it. But the market doesn't care about your certainty. When you feel absolutely certain about a trade, that's often the moment of maximum danger. Your certainty is emotion, wearing an intellectual mask. I lost fortunes when I was certain. I made fortunes when I was uncertain but disciplined. Certainty makes you rigid. Discipline keeps you flexible. Now, if this message is resonating with you, do me a favor. Drop a comment below sharing your biggest, too smart for my own good, trading moment. Let's learn from each other. And make sure you're watching the other videos on this channel. We're building a community of traders who are learning to master themselves, not just the market. Here's my final message to you, and I need you to really hear this. Your intelligence is not your enemy. Your uncontrolled intelligence is your enemy. Intelligence without discipline is like a race car without brakes, tremendous power that inevitably ends in a crash. The market has humbled every intelligent person who ever tried to conquer it through analysis alone. It humbled me, repeatedly, until I finally learned that the game isn't about being smart. It's about being consistent. It's about being patient. It's about being disciplined enough to follow your rules, even when everything in you wants to break them. You can be intelligent and successful in trading, but you have to build a framework that protects you from your own intelligence. You have to create rules that you follow regardless of what your brilliant mind is telling you in the moment. You have to become both the smart strategist and the obedient soldier, and know exactly when to be which one. I built and lost 4 fortunes before I learned this. You don't have to. Learn from my mistakes. Use your intelligence to build the system, then trust the system more than you trust your intelligence in the moment. That's the key. That's what separates the traders who make it from the brilliant minds who blow up spectacularly. The market doesn't care how smart you are. It only cares if you can follow your rules when it matters most. Master that, and you'll succeed. Fail at that, and no amount of intelligence will save you. Remember, everything I've learned through decades of triumph and disaster is waiting for you in Thinking Like Jesse Livermore, Mastering the Market with Discipline, Patience, and Risk. Check the link in the description. Your intelligence got you interested in trading. Let discipline make you successful at it. Now get out there and trade like a machine, not like a genius. Your future self, the one still in the game with capital and confidence, will thank you for it.